advice can you give someone looking to remarry? I've been married before and I've ignored the red flags going into that first marriage. I believe that God spoke to me and I've learned my lesson. Could you advise me on going forward and should I remarry?
Okay. Let me answer this and then maybe she'll piggyback on it. Honestly, I also believe that there is no mistake or sin that God cannot forgive. So I can't sit here and say to you, don't remarry. What I tell people is that you need to talk to God one on one on that issue. I don't think it's an individual that will tell you, don't remarry or remarry. You have to talk to God because the scriptures are clear on those things. So if you're looking for exceptions, then you go and talk to the one who wrote the scriptures. Do you understand what I'm saying? When David had the showbread, God did not do anything. I'm telling you, some people did less things and they paid for it. Uzziah just touched the ark and he died. Do you understand? Yeah. So you have to talk to God, about it. That's the number one. Because when David sinned about Uriah and Uriah was killed, nobody knew how David went to talk to God. And God said, okay, that's all right, but the child will die. And God said to him, get up. And he got up and he cleaned his face and he did as if nothing has happened. So if David had showed up immediately after that, people will say he has no regret, he has no remorse. You are not there. You are not there. David had spoken to God, had begged God, had done everything. And God said, okay, this is the thing that you started, but this is going to be a reward for you. Do you understand? That's number one, and then we'll move from that one. Having said that, learn from your mistakes. You said God had told you. What I can infer from that is that God told you not to marry that person. And you did. And you have seen it. Now, you can go back to the same God and let the same God tell you what to do. And make sure you do what God tells you to do. You understand? A lot of things God tells us, they are not easy to do, but they are not impossible, as if they cannot be done. They can be done. It's just that, we just want things that will be easy for us, at times. So we go the other way around. But I hope you have learned your lesson. So let God direct you, and He's always ready to direct us.
Okay. Well,
No, I can't say anything contrary because just like you rightfully said as well, it's a one-on-one with you and God. I mean, if you came today and you said God said, I cannot unsay what God said. So it's a self-conviction and a self-confirmation with you and God. We know what the word of God says. And if you go contrary or you come back and you say, this is God speaking, then that's you and God. And that's it.
We've been married for 38 years. So I see that among what they call baby boomers like us, I see an epidemic of marriage failures and divorces. So seeing that a lot of people here are young and still getting to that stage, I would like to know, because knowing these people, friends, there's nothing they are going through that we have not gone through or seen in the marriage. But then at a snap, after 20, 30, 40 years of marriage, they just go their separate ways, or if they are living together, they are living as two strangers. What advice can we give to these younger ones not to get to that, or even for us to be able to help these people that are in this position? Thank you.
The truth of the matter, is that marriage is very difficult. Marriage is very, very difficult. I've mediated the marriages of 70 something year olds. 70 something. That tells you how difficult marriage is. Do you understand? And if what you have is good, just keep it. Do you understand? Because as people get older, they begin to take positions. One of the positions is this. When a woman is, let me use 60 now, and the man is over 60, most times they say to themselves that I must live for myself now, even though they are married. Because they feel like they've sacrificed a lot. And that's where this happiness thing comes in. I have a lot of friends who are in my, age group right now who are going through these problems. You understand? Because they believe that they've sacrificed enough. And they just say, you know what? So it's either, and what they are saying to themselves, and it's not just one person. Even the spouse is saying the same thing. It's either they are saying, you meet me where I am, or you stay where you are. We can just be friends and be tenants, co-tenants in this house. And we move on. But I'm all done. And that all done does not mean that they are saying, I want to divorce. They are just saying, I'm all done sacrificing. I need to. Look, and I'm saying this to everybody. I got to a point after our children had gone through college. I said, I'm done. I said, I've spent all my years sacrificing, not just for my family. I said, I want to focus on myself now. I said, I'm done. I'm tired. And I meant that with all sincerity because I was tired. Because there was no savings that I could not dip into if it's to take care of my family or my children. There was none. So you get to a point where you say, you two can die anytime from now. So what do you have for yourself? And that's it. The car that I bought recently, I probably would not have bought it because in my mind I was saying, when I'm 70, I'll buy it. Until one guy said, but Pastor, what's the difference between your age now and 70? Why do? And the reason is not because I didn't have the funds, but I'm always saving because of my family. That if there's any trouble, I should be able to come to the rescue. But the truth is that once you are 70, what other vacations are you taking? And in fairness to our children, this is what they have learned and they have taken on. We never took vacations like that, the way they are taking vacations now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because all the money we were saving it for them, every gift anybody gave me in this church, it went to my children and my family. So, and at the end of the day, you say to yourself, you know what? I've done enough for these kids. Let me look after myself. And that's why people start to take those kind of positions. That's why they can take up that kind of position. Now, there's another level of people. It's the same position, but it's different. Is that if the wife has been the one, I had a meeting once with people over 55, men over 55 in this room, and I said to them, be careful. I said, because once you are 55 as a man, if you're not careful, your income starts dropping. And that's when your wife's income is going on. Because there's something about women, they are multitasking. So they are able to stretch themselves left, right, and center and make more money. I said, if that woman gets to a point, she might lock you out of that house if you are not careful. And I'm seeing that every day, even in this church. Women locking out their husbands and say, you need to leave now. What are they saying? They are saying, you don't bring anything to the table. So that thing to the table that we talked about is not new to the man that is saying it. The women are saying it in this church. I see them. And they're saying it. And I feel sorry for the men. Because they're saying, all my years I've spent to look after not only her, but do you understand what I'm saying? And this is why when I preach this thing, I say, stop saying you sent your wife to school. Send yourself too to school. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's not common for a lot of women to be the only one working while the man is going to school and they are the one funding the house. But it's very common when the man is the only one working and the wife is going to school and funding the house. But as soon as the woman finishes that school, she's ready to move on from the man. And the man is saying, but I was paying the bills when you were going to school now. So now that you have gone to school and you are now earning more, why don't you also bring something to this table? You know, so there are a lot of things that goes on that causes people to get, you know, if I tell you today growing up that I will have friends that will have been married 3 times, I'll say it's not possible. Now I do. Some are even on their 4th one. Now I do. And I'm not saying I agree with what they have done, but I'm saying I never saw it coming. That I can have people that I grew up with that will get into that, because we all complained about this issue. But when you hear some peculiarity of their marriage stories, you are saying, You can't talk much. Or else you just be like you are being holy. And you are talking from, there's a word for that thing now. You know, you're talking from there. You know, so one has to be very, very careful about this thing called marriage. You know.
When you look at the phases of marriage, the marriage evolves. When you get older, what you're doing in your marriage is different from when you were younger. So sometimes when you get older in your marriage and all, it's more of a commitment phase. We term it the just living as bodies, or just living as roommates, or as so to say. But the truth is that what you're doing, what you're involved in marriage, differs at that point of time in your life. So when you're able to identify what stage of marriage you're in, would determine what you're putting or what you're giving in the marriage. That's what I think.
And we've discussed this. I think I still said something like that, early this morning before we left home. For me, I think one of the questions, when I spun through some of those questions, was asking, what is it that, matters most to you? These are 36 years of marriage. There are two things right now for me. Peace of mind, and don't disrespect me. Honestly, don't abuse me, don't disrespect me. Because I've done and I do everything any man should do. And I can challenge any man to stand toe to toe with me. And I'll tell them what I do in my family and you tell me what you do. Do you understand? So my wife can never disrespect me on that thing. You can't disagree with me, but that you will now use abusive language on me, or I'm not going to take it. And also, I need a peace of mind. Because I'm going to be 67 this year. I cannot be 67 and I'll be talking about church. I can't. No. I just need to get home, eat and sleep. My demands are not many. Even the food, if it's not made for me, I can make food myself. My wife is here. My kids are here. So it's not a problem. But give me a peace of mind. Because I cannot be going home and be wearing armor of battle. No. And a lot of men are saying the same thing. And that's why today you see trans-international marriages. After a while, the man will just pack his bag and go to his village. And you can stay here. When we meet once or twice in a year, we manage ourselves. Let me go again. Everybody saying, give me a peace of mind. Because it matters a lot. Because no matter how much money you have or whatever, if there's no peace of mind, you will not really be able to enjoy yourself. Do you understand? So for the young ones, my advice to them is that give yourselves a peace of mind. I don't want to be going home and be thinking, what will I meet when I get home now? What will I say wrong that my spouse will just explode? Or I don't need that stress. I don't. Maybe also because I am a pastor. The stress of pastoring is too much for me. That for me to get home and be fighting another battle again. The ones who are fighting with church people and the demon is a lot. Yes, now you think everybody in church likes you? I don't deceive myself. Do you understand? So there is a lot going on. So I don't want to get home and then it's another fight again that we start. Can we just reduce this matter?
The question reads, in different seasons of marriage, especially a busy season or a tiring season, how does a couple remain intentional about having sex or emotional intimacy?
You have to be intentional. Do you understand what I'm saying? No matter the stage of marriage, you have to be intentional about it, because your spouse might be feeling one thing and you might be feeling another thing. But when both of you are intentional about it, you put in every effort to make it happen. Not just about yourself now, but even about your spouse. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to be intentional about it.